Happy Wednesday, everybody. Producer Shane and Grant McCagg back again for the SIG podcast, Recruits Draftcast. This week, we're going to be touching on some tidbit of news coming out of the NCAA. An A-level prospect decommits, which is not something we're used to seeing. We're also going to be talking about why scouts can't draft solely based on highlight packages, as tempting as it may be. We're also going to be talking about a bit of Sportsnet, controversy or disdain. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're going to be talking about that as well as our Habs prospect of the week, riser and sleeper of the week, and prospect of the week. It all starts right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the SIG Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
As always, I am your host, producer Shane, joined by the magnificent Grant McCagg. Now, Grant, this week we got some interesting news of Cole Eiserman, who is amongst many people's top three for this upcoming draft. Originally, he was planning on attending Minnesota University and playing there, and he just recently decommitted to instead commit to Boston University to play with the Terriers there. Notably, that's a loaded team. If we go through, the roster there, they have obviously Macklin Celebrini, who is also among the conversation for top three this year. They have Tom Willander, who was just drafted this most recent draft in the first round. They also have the Hudson brothers, right? Quinn and Lane. And they also have, for Habs fans, this is pretty interesting. They have Jack Gorton and Jack Hughes, who are the sons of Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes. So anyways, Cole Eiserman will be going to Boston University next year if he does not make the NHL right out of camp. But what do you think about this, Grant? This is a little weird.
Well, it was a little weird that he, Massachusetts boy, had committed to Minnesota in the first place, I think.
That's it.
So, peer pressure maybe, guys talking to him and say, "Come on, man, you gotta stick in your home state there. And play with what are you doing going to Minnesota?" But you wonder. At the time that he committed, I guess he thought perhaps Logan Cooley'd be there and Matt Nyes, and if he was, but if he'd have known how good those guys were, you had a fair inkling that they wouldn't still be around by the time he was enrolling. And I suppose Snuggerud's still there, right?
I see him on the. Yeah,
I don't.
Maybe.
I would suspect that he'll leave after this year too. Yeah. So, it makes you wonder if. Was he talking to Lane, and did Lane say, "Yeah, I'm going to play one more year. Why don't you come?" Like they would have played some, or no, maybe not. No, actually, he wouldn't have played because there's 2 years difference there, right? Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have played with Lane on the under 18 team, but through the same system, who knows, right? Maybe Lane said, sure. "Yeah, I'm going to play a year with my little brother. Play one more year of college. Why don't you come and join us for a super year?" If imagine if Celebrini and Lane and Cole and down the list, then Eiserman
undefeated.
Well, they're
not losing a game. That happens.
Again, depending, I guess, on what the guys do. But what you would suspect that Will Smith and all that crew will turn pro after 1 year, So, but I think it's just more the, hey, I'm a Massachusetts boy. BU's building a good program here again. Mm-hmm. A little bit of peer pressure maybe, and decided to decommit. And again, it may be irrelevant if he does make the NHL next year, but
He might not even play. Yeah.
Usually these guys typically, like even Owen Power, who was first overall pick, played a year, So typically, especially if they haven't already played NCAA hockey, you don't see them too often just making the direct jump to the NHL. They like to get 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year of college under their belt. I mean, you're a college boy there now. Like it's, these are, I look back fondly at my college years. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I went to college. Right. So, I'm sure that the family would like him to at least get 1 year of schooling in, and I'm sure he does too. So it's it's big news, but not that surprising considering that he's a Massachusetts boy.
That's it. You said that BU is building quite the program. I mean, this year they're going to be, a threat, obviously, to win the championship. But even next year, assuming that, let's say Celebrini doesn't make the NHL, he goes for another year. Yzerman goes for another year. Let's say Lane Hutson stays another year and plays with his younger brother Cole, who is in the national development program right now. I mean, this team is going to steamroll over everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see. And Yzerman and Celebrini have pre-existing chemistry. They played together. What was it, at Shattuck, or they played together somewhere? I don't remember where, but they both of them averaged three points per game. They got 150 points in 50 games. That's absurd.
And maybe they had a little chat. Celebrini said, "Oh yeah, I plan on coming back next year if you come over, if you decommit, I'll commit." So it's hard to say, but there could be a few reasons why he decided to do that. But it going to be keeping an eye on BU for sure over the next couple of years. They're going to be fun to watch.
That's it. Yeah. And I mentioned Habs fans might want to keep an eye on that team. I forgot Luke Tuck also plays there this year. So even better. This team is just loaded, but NCAA hockey is going to be fun. Yeah.
And Quinn's a good player too, at that level, I thought that he might get drafted last year because he had a pretty good freshman season, but they've got an exciting squad for sure.
That's it. So you mentioned Logan Cooley, right? We talked about Minnesota real quick. There's this whole discourse, right? He scored this fantastic goal, and it really was a fantastic goal against LA. But beyond that, right, we haven't heard much from him. Now, you did some digging, you did some research, how his preseason has gone, and, let's lay the groundwork. I can already smell the comments from a mile away, all right? This is preseason. He is a rookie. We're not looking into it too much. But you shouldn't also look into that goal too much either. So delve into that a little, Grant, if you can.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's he has a goal and an assist in the preseason. That goal was fantastic, and it came in the first game. So people jump on the bandwagon and say, "Oh, well, this guy's going to do this every game." He's gonna score a highlight reel goal.
Yeah.
We tend to get a little overexcited, especially in a person's first pro game, and they score a goal like that. You start to think, well, geez, he can do that every game. He'll do that in NHL playoff games. But there's always perspective behind it. It's first game of the preseason, but trust me when I say those highlights are. They just display that he's an NHL rookie. It's not going to be easy for him. He's not going to score. He may not score another goal like that this year. I mean, great that it came in the first game, but I think it got people reacting a little too overzealously about just how good this kid's going to be. It'll take time. don't expect him to step in and be playing 18 minutes a game as the first line center in Arizona. Andre doesn't typically hand that. I mean, Barrett Hayton was 5th overall pick 4 years ago or whatever it was, and he's still trying to, get us top 2 slot regularly as a center at the NHL level. So it'll take a little time. Be patient with him. If he doesn't get off to a great start, that's fine. He's learning, just like Shane Wright last year. He's learning how to play center at the NHL level, and it takes time. But unfortunately, though, we couldn't show those highlights, but it just gives you an idea of, I heard media in the last week and a lot of fans talking about how fantastic a preseason Logan Cooley has had. And I mean, they're basing it on seeing that one highlight, and they didn't watch the games. And that's what scouts do. They watch the whole game. They don't watch highlight packages. They watch every shift. They watch a player away from the puck, because the NHL coaches want players that are going to be responsible away from the puck. You have to keep the puck out of your own net in addition to scoring. If he scores one beautiful, pretty goal, and is on the ice for 5 goals against on average, he won't even be in the lineup after a while. Like, sure, coaches like to see a pretty goal, but they don't want to see 5 goals against for every goal that you're in on either. So he'll have to develop his play away from the puck. And when he does that, then he'll be playing regular and in a top 2 role in Arizona. Will it be to start the season? It's hard to say, but it's just an example of that. You have to watch entire game when you're scouting. You watch every shift. You watch guys play away from the puck, and it's all important. And I mean, I had Logan Cooley ranked ahead of Shane Wright. I had him top 3 in my draft ranking. So I think he's going to be a great NHL player, and this isn't a knock against him whatsoever, only just to temper the enthusiasm a little bit and not to anoint a kid based on one highlight.
Yeah.
First game of the season. There's still work to do.
That's it. And it's easy to get carried away by like these exciting players, these offensively minded forwards who score that type of goals. You look at that and you're thinking, well, this guy's, he's a lock for first line. He's going to be a stud, but you got to look beyond that, right? To see how good of an actual player he is. Maybe his offensive game has developed ahead of his, draft class, but the rest of the game maybe hasn't followed yet. So that's why, you really have to give an ensemble view before you say, okay, no, Cooley should have gone first. What the hell? He's the best player in this draft class. Probably, I don't know. I don't know. So that's why.
That goal was a perfect storm. Like, I mean, the puck bounced his way. I mean, anyone that's played hockey, I scored a couple of goals, and I was no superstar that, end-to-enders where just everything went your way. You dangled everyone and you beat the goalie, and it's just, I still remember them because they were so rare. But I mean, sometimes it just everything falls into place. And I mean, if he does that another 3 or 4 times this year, and the next times it's against Doughty and Doughty and Mikey Anderson instead of Andreas Englund and Jordan Spence, who isn't a great defensive defenseman, then okay, maybe he is going to be an NHL superstar. But I just hold off on anointing him just yet. It was one time thing. First game of the year, they're playing in Australia, so I mean, who knows? Not everybody had their sea legs yet, I don't think either, and stuff. So it just hold off a bit on getting overexcited about it. He's a great prospect. Is he going to be the next Connor Bedard? Well, I mean, what we've seen, I haven't seen any other highlights from Cooley. It was that one, and even Bedard so far. We see something every game. Somebody posts even when it's not a goal, right? Just a dangle he made or a shot that he made. It's daily with Bedard. That's a special player. That's the guy that's going to be a franchise player. Cooley, we'll see. I think he'll be a first line center down the road. If not a center, certainly a first line winger. Do I think he's going to be as good as Bedard? No, I don't. That he's in an elite class of himself, just as McDavid was when he came in.
No, that's it. Bedard is just leaps and bounds above most other rookies right now. Even sophomores, like he's that good. But we've reiterated that point quite a bit, and everyone else has, rightfully so. He is the future of this league, and I'll put money on it. Like that's how much I believe in that guy. So okay, you wanted to touch on this a little bit. Now, I didn't watch the Habs versus Leafs game on Sportsnet. You did. I watched it on RDS because they're the best. Pierre and Marc to the moon.
Yeah.
All right, these are my guys. But see, there's been a common complaint here amongst fan bases other than that of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not just Habs fans. Any team that plays the Leafs that is broadcast by Sportsnet has the same complaint over and over again, rightfully so, is that this nickname Leafsnet is very accurate. The panel, the way that the broadcast is given is so centered around the Leafs that it's not even enjoyable anymore. It's like, I mean, we can pull up the Reeves cam that you singled out. They just, they look at Reeves spitting on the ice. Who cares? This was after a scrum, right? That was he even involved in? Like, no,
after every scrum that he wasn't on the ice for, they had a camera. I called it a Reeves cam that had to focus on Ryan Reeves. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if the director or producer are in their 60s or whatever and thinks that it's back in the 70s, like where you could jump off the bench and join the scrum and have a bench clearing brawl or what. But I mean, who cares that he's at the bench spitting on himself, And then, I mean, I'm glad Kyprios is back. I don't mind Nick Kyprios, unlike most Habs fans. I mean, I'm not in love with him or anything, but I don't mind. I grew to not mind Nick Kyprios, and I was kind of surprised when he was fired. But they get directives too. I mean, I'm sure of it, where they have to, oh, here's one mistake that Slavkovsky made where he went over with Doc. I mean, first of all, he shouldn't have been the defenseman back on that play. So you got to give him a bit of a, pass on that, where all of a sudden it's him and Doc that are back against Marner and Matthews. And yeah, he didn't make the right read on the play, but they take that one. I mean, Slavkovsky made about 15 excellent defensive plays in that game.
Yeah.
And they took that one shot, that one highlight where he made the wrong read and Matthews got a scoring chance, and use that as an example of, I think the discussion was, is he going to be a bust? Is Slavkovsky going to be a bust? Like 36 games into his career, or is Slavkovsky not going to make it? I forget exactly what the phrasing was, but, and it's, and Nick say, no, he's not, but this one highlight shows, and I mean, it's obvious that he hasn't been watching them all camp. Yeah. Because they got this one clip, and I'm sure the director said, oh, we gotta, does this mean he's, let's focus on this one mistake and then ask whether this means he's going to be a bust. But Kipper said, no, it doesn't mean that, but he's going to be, he should be in the AHL because of this, and it's just, I just wish it would stop that they did the same thing with Kotkaniemi, the Toronto media. I mean, it was bad enough in Montreal, but all these guys that didn't watch the games, that rarely saw him play, had to weigh in on how, whether he was a bust or not. And it's just a common topic on TSN and Sportsnet. And it bothers me because as I say, just about every broadcast, you wait 5 years on kids before you really start judging them. And
Yep.
A preseason game, a 19-year-old kid who didn't make the right read with Marner and Matthews on one play means that he's going to be in the AHL. He should be in the AHL. Like, it's funny, Jack-Eye beat Nyes like a drum there on one. He got the puck off the draw and went around him like he was a pylon. Where was the highlight during the intermission? And then Kiprio saying, well, this shows why he should be in the AHL to start the season. No. It had to be the Canadiens prospect that became the topic. And it's blatant at times. And Toronto fans can say it's our inferiority complex. I mean, I get that every time I ever post anything that, like that. And sure, fine. I've got a complex that the Leafs have won so many cups in my lifetime that I just, I mean, I just wish I was I wish I had to drive on the 401 in rush hour every day and cheered for the Leafs. So, fine. I have an inferiority complex when it comes to Toronto. Good.
It's really annoying more than anything because, like any Canadian game that Sportsnet presents, if it's played against the Leafs, what the narrative is going to be. They don't even, like you said, they don't even try to hide it. And it's really annoying to have that bias because they're the only broadcast, like you will include TSN, right? The Toronto Sports Network, in that discussion, because they're the only broadcast that shows the game, right? So it's really annoying to have to sit through like that propaganda about the Leafs, and it's not good for growing the game. And I get that this is like a prospect podcast, but at the end of the day, this does affect hockey, and everybody else outside of Toronto is affected by this. So it's just really annoying. I wish that they would bring in like a diversity of perspectives. You know what I mean? Like not just everybody out of Toronto, right? And sure, the panel knows their hockey. The production is good, but the narrative is so out of touch that it's becoming unbearable to watch. And I every day I thank God for RDS because, man, they're good. I mean, they're so good.
And of course, I get someone always as well, just watch RDS. And I mean, I understand some French, but I'm not bilingual. So I don't, I like to hear what's being said and understanding it. So I do watch, I watch both. But I just happened to be watching that, the Sportsnet one, and made the mistake of not changing it in between periods, I guess. But and also all the analysts, just about invariably everyone that they hire, like, I think between the two, they have one French Canadian, and that's Marty Brodeur. Or Marty Biron.
He's barely on there. Yeah.
And he made a point of mentioning last year that he grew up hating the Canadians, right? And I swear that's in the job interviews when the, TSN and Sportsnet execs are there, they're saying like, that's one of the questions. Like, did you grow up hating the Canadians? Yes. Well, you're on,
That's it.
like Gary Galley, wasn't a Habs fan growing up. He always, and he makes no bones of it, played for Boston. Well, we'll hire you, Oh, you hit it the Habs? Join, welcome to the club.
That's it.
One guy, I think they've maybe one broadcaster that played, and that's Mike Johnson, that played some for the Habs. And I think Mike's great. He's one of the best that they have, but he played for the Leafs too. Yeah, that has to be checked off on the box. Like there isn't one guy that played for the Canadians and didn't play for the Leafs that they have as a hockey analyst on either network. Not one, and PJ Stock's another one. He hated the Habs. He played what, a handful of games, but you can not hated the Habs, but he always was a bit anti-Hab when they had him on. And it's like, you have to have that narrative almost, it seems like, to be on either network at times. And yeah, I guess maybe we look at it a bit biased, and maybe it's not as blatant as we feel it is, but you certainly notice it at times. And it's unfortunate that there's no hockey shows outside of Toronto. They tried a couple, but everything's got to be based out of Toronto now. It's unfortunate that that it just seems like all the decision making and all of the programming, sports programming, has to emanate out of Toronto, because it can't help but be slanted a bit towards, like the Overdrive show or whatever. They talk Leafs 75% of the time.
That's it.
There's no sports hockey show dedicated to the other Canadian teams that I know of, or if there is, I haven't seen it. So it's unfortunate that that's the way it is. But thankfully for a lot of Habs fans, they're bilingual. They can watch the RDS and TVA stuff and Tony's podcasts and our stuff and get some perspectives other than the Toronto centric one.
And that's it. Well said. Moving on to Habs prospect of the week. Lots to choose from this week, but I like the guy that you chose, and I think it's important to highlight him. Even though he is 23 years old, he is still considered a prospect. That is Matthias Norlinder, selected third round in 2019, 64th overall. What did you like about Norlinder so far in the preseason?
Yeah, well, you got to give the nod to him. We did not expect him to still be in camp, right?
That's it. He's the surprise for sure.
What he's shown is on the power play, especially, that the Canadians, let's be honest, they lack there was his goal. They lack a power play quarterback right now back there.
Yeah.
And he probably showed better than any defenseman in camp that he could run a power play, which does reveal the need that there's still a need to be filled there. Because I don't think he's a great offensive defenseman, but he does move the puck pretty well back there. He's got good feet, good vision. This is the tying goal the other night. Now everybody raved about this, and it was a nice play for him to keep it in. Mm-hmm. I think anyone that's back can go back as far as the Patrice Brisebois era. Just really appreciate a defenseman that can actually hold the puck in the net or in the zone instead of it bouncing over a stick. So that was pretty, that was pretty nice. So, but here's another example of him joining. He showed some good offensive instincts in camp, and unfortunately, I think numbers game. Right, there's a nice pass to Cole. I was going to say that. We saw Matheson back in camp today. practicing. Because he's not waiver eligible yet, him and Barron will likely get sent down. Oh, I put in a couple of, there's an example where he didn't hold it in. And if you notice there, his skating, he doesn't have high-end speed by any means. Like he's got good agility and he's good along the line. But when it comes to his Northwest, there's another turnover that he had. So I threw in a few things to show that, it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops. He's had some good and bad. There's another one there that I want to touch a little bit on that. The pass back on the power play thing. That I really hope that the Canadians don't do it every single time they bring the puck up. There he was again. I ended it with a few plays where he wasn't great, but you noticed on that play, the pass back play, and the other one where he didn't keep it in, his speed isn't great. He doesn't have great. I think he's below average when it comes to speed for a defenseman, and that's probably when you're 5'11", you're not a physical defenseman. It's probably what's going to keep him out of the lineup for now. He can help the power play, but will he be a lot better than, say, Gooley on the power play? Probably not. I think Gooley, it'll be by committee to a certain degree, but there's a few guys, Matheson, Gooley, they can run the power play likely as well as Norlinder, but he showed some stuff. He showed some things, and he's ahead of Baudin at this point. Now they picked up Baudin, former first round pick, offensive defenseman in junior, to be the power play guy, I guess, at the Laval level. But if Norlinder ends up staying and playing in Laval, at this point, he's probably ahead of him, as far as being power play quarterback. I think they likely have Mailloux and Norlinder on the first power play in Laval if he stays, and then Baudin and Barron on the second power play. But that's going to be the best power play that we've seen in Laval, maybe ever. But also, you've seen, it's funny, like we've seen how he's competent at the NHL level running a power play. Why, when he first came up, was he, he wasn't even on the first power play. I think Xavier Ouellet. And it used to, it bothered me that, these guys, it's what I like about the current structure and organization and their thought process, where, it's almost like the Montessori concept, where you utilize what a prospect does best and put them in situations where, they can use their skills. Norlinder, when he came over, it should have been no questions asked. He was on the first power play in Laval, whether he was good at it or not at this point. He just trial by fire. This is what he's known for. This is what he did in Sweden. Trust the scouts, trust the process, let him play on the power play, but they didn't. He was a second power play. He was, trying to make him into a defensive defenseman. Well, that'll come, but let him play, play to his strengths. And the organization is doing a lot better job of that than they did under Bergevin, where they're letting guys, young guys that come up, play to their strengths and give them opportunity. If they were a power play guy and that's why they were drafted, well, then you let them play power play at the AHL level and let them develop. And if they become really good at it, well, there's a need in Montreal for an elite power play quarterback. There hasn't been one since. I don't know. PK wasn't like,
Yeah,
he was
Markov. Markov was good on the power play.
Markov, really,
Yeah.
that was the power quarterback, PK was kind of a blast it from the point kind of guy, but since Markov in his heyday, really. So I think the search continues. Norlinder showed some things, but I don't. Jordan Harris, for instance, it's not sexy, I guess, but he was a beast defensively in his last game. He was blocking shots. He was making plays, all the little things away from the play that are going to appeal to coaches, maybe
That's
not
it.
to fans necessarily, but it's the coaches that make the lineups, not the fans. And Harris is, there's no way that Norlinder's beat Harris out for a spot, I don't think, to start the year. So he goes down. I believe Harris would still be waiver eligible, so you could send him down without losing him. But he that last game sealed it, as far as I'm concerned, for him staying with the club. Lindstrom wasn't, hasn't been super dynamic, but he's been solid defensively too. I think he's got a spot for sure. So the odd man out will be Barron and Norlinder at the end of the day. But hey, nobody expected this. I'm pretty sure the club wasn't expecting Norlinder to be this good. It's been a pleasant surprise, and I'm glad that we're seeing that potential that we saw the year after he was drafted, when on a lot of lists he was top 5 have prospect. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just another asset, right? Maybe another club down the road has that need. Montreal is just so loaded on left defense, unfortunately, that he's probably not going to get that opportunity here. But you never say never, too, right? If there's an injury or two like last year, he'll get the call up. If he scores a goal and an assist like he did in the last game, if he does that a few times, he'll you never know. He could end up playing a fairly regular role in Montreal. But we certainly didn't think that going into training camp. And now there's at least some doubt been cast. So good for him. He gets a nod for Prospect of the Week.
That's it. I mean, I remember this summer we were having this discussion about, like, is he even going to come? Like, he was playing in Sweden. We didn't even know he was going to come this year, and let alone get the opportunities that he's gotten and take advantage of those opportunities, right? He ran with them and he did the best he could. And I really, really like that. I think, like you said, he's going to get a really good chance to shine in Laval this year and show that he does belong in this organization, and he could become an NHL player in the future. So big shout out to Matthias Norlinder, Habs Prospect of the Week. Moving on to our Riser and Sleeper of the Week. We've combined the two this week for our friend Jesse Polkinen. Talk to us about this guy.
Yeah, he's a 6'6" defenseman that was eligible last year. He's a late 2004. 6 goals and 10 assists in his first 10 junior games this year. Look at that between them. He's got good hands for a big guy. He can skate too, but he's got a good shot, very good offensive instincts. At the Finnish junior level at this point, it's funny, like last year he didn't put up many points, and it just, sometimes these kids just bloom, right? Yeah. Whatever he did, ate a lot of Wheaties in the off season. He's just come out of the gate. Just it's like, wow, especially a kid 6'6", that all of a sudden he's an offensive dynamo at this level. But here, watch this. Zoop. And then he comes in, and then the shot.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid's got some. And then here, I like this, he's got a long stick there, right? 6'6", so he gets and then just, he's like a man among boys. I suspect the JYP, the men's team's going to be calling him up pretty soon. Yeah. And I'd also be surprised that he's not very much on the radar now for the Finnish junior team for the Worlds. I know scouts are are expecting it now. From what I sent this to a couple of guys, and they say, "Yeah, I don't see how he can't be." There's a nice pass, don't see how he can't be on the World Junior team if he keeps playing like this. So, pretty smooth, good edges, just kind of look at this. The glass there, about five panes of glass, just they almost all collapsed. When he ran into the guy at the end there, but he looks like he's finding it easy at the junior level right now, and that's in the space of 1 year that he's gone from being just an average. I think he played even J18 last year, under 18, quite a bit of the year. So he's one of those guys that is a big time riser, and they even inspired me to think about, who's the last underage guy to go in the first round? Because if he puts up the numbers that he's been putting up so far for the rest of the year at his size, with his skill, it's not
There's potential.
an impossibility that he goes in the first round. Interestingly, as I asked an NHL scout about it, because it's the last guy I can remember. Tanner Pearson is the last undrafted guy that went in the first round of the NHL draft. So, which is kind of interesting. The Habs obviously have him now, but you just see in all these, this is just in a game or two, that exciting prospect. Here, just everything opened up for him there. That one was an easy one, but I decided to show all his goals. So there's a couple extra games in there, but can't help but be impressed by that. The kid's got good offensive skills. He can defend. He's a good skater. When he runs into people there, he almost put them through the boards. We'd like to see that a little more, obviously, at his size, but I really hope he's at the World Juniors, and if he has a breakout World Junior, he won't be a sleeper anymore. I think the sleep time's over for this kid with the start he's had. NHL guys are they're already looking at video, that are in North America, and I'm sure the scouting staffs in Europe are all flocking to see this kid. So I've got him. I've moved him up into the second round, and he keeps playing like that. He's going to be the first overage prospect to go in the first round since Tanner Pearson. Because he could have the whole package there. So it's nice to see these guys blossom, and that. And it just goes to show, you don't get drafted, put in the work in the off season, because you can still get drafted. It's not. It seems like more and more undrafted guys are getting picked the following drafts. So don't give up on your dream if you get passed over once. Because you could blossom like this kid has. So just another example of another defenseman that's jumped into the fray here. This is shaping up to be a outstanding defensive draft. Draft for defensemen. There's going to be tons of them. So, Montreal picked a defenseman last year. 5th overall. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they can't pick another couple 3rd round, 4th round. There's going to be really good defensemen in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round.
Steals.
So, maybe concentrate on forward with your top pick or first 2 picks, and snag one of these sleeper defensemen down the road just to add depth. But there's 2 ways of looking at it too, right? If everybody's taking defensemen, well, that leaves you with one of the top forwards
Yeah.
in the in the draft. So who knows? Maybe Montreal gets the best winger in this draft class, like they got the best defenseman in last year. So it's all good. Loving the depth of this draft. It's just I have 100 players ranked now, and I like all of them. So typically that's not the case. Certainly not in early October. Or early August or whatever it is right now. Is it early August or is it early October? The weather
I don't know. It's 30 degrees outside. Jeez.
crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing inside? Let's wrap this up.
Good point. Good point. I got to hit the pool in October. Anyways, ridiculous stuff. Yeah, good stuff coming out of Jesse Pulkkinen. Now, last but not least, prospect of the week. This kid has been putting up some just ridiculous numbers. Is Tariq Parashak. Talk to us about this guy.
Yeah, Terry.
Terry.
Well, just a phenomenal start to the year for this kid. 8 goals and 4 assists in 4 games.
Hello.
Yeah. He's number 32 there, playing right wing. Good skater. Got a really good burst. I mean, 8 goals. He's finding the back of the net. He's got a really nice release, as you just saw in that goal there. Quick release and accurate. Going to score a lot of goals this year. There's just a beautiful shot in between the arm there, to the perfect spot for a shot. He's got really good vision, nice, sweet hands here. Finishes the plays really impressively. I like his defense. He's playing. He played 29 minutes and 55 seconds the other night.
Wow.
His ice time went from 18 to start the year, and by the 4th game he played like just under 30 minutes. Now here, look at that. Great hands on this kid. Love that goal. So lots of skill. He's about 5'11" and 6 foot. So, not a little undersized, but not a small kid by any means. Makes great passes. He's got a ton of potential, and Prince George, they're going to be fun to watch. They got Riley Height, who was picked pretty high last year, but he's getting more ice time than Height, who's a center. It's rare that you ever see a winger play 30 minutes in a game, in a 60-minute game. And the other night he played, like I say, 29:55 for a draft-eligible winger. That's just unheard of. So obviously the coach loves him. I'm going to get a hold of the coach and ask him about him and say, why are you playing this guy half the game? Obviously he's out there on the PK, on the power play, first line. Didn't have him on my radar going into the year necessarily. But wow, he jumped right up into the second round discussion with the start to his season. And it's fully justified because he's got the skill to match the production. So he keeps putting up good numbers. He finishes his top 10 in scoring or whatever. He might be a first round pick. Just keep rising as the draft year goes on. So add yet another kid that's impressing that didn't really necessarily know a lot about before the season started. It's shaping up to be a tremendous draft in the Western Hockey League this year. Crossover scouts in Eastern Canada are going to be making plenty of trips out west this year. I can tell you that. So it's not that strong in Ontario and Quebec. So all these guys are going to be putting up the air miles as this year goes along, because they'll be between Sweden and Finland and Russia, well, no, they won't be going to Russia, but Sweden and Finland, and on Western trips, the frequent flyer miles are going to pile up. So
No doubt.
good on them. They'll, I've been talking to a few scouts already that, I got to book him onto my schedule for my trip out west, but there's going to be 10 or 12 stops for these guys. So it's tough. Scouting's not easy. Like you go on those Western trips, and sometimes they're out there for like 2 weeks, and it's not easy. You have to give them credit. I know a lot of kids that want to get into scouting, and they say, "Oh, I'd love to scout, and I love to." Yeah, it's not a dream job all the time. That's for sure. Being away from the family for 2 weeks at a time, getting on airplanes, sitting in airports, driving in blizzards to Chicoutimi, on a dark winter night, and then the kid that you went to see doesn't dress, or he got injured, or there's lots of. It's not a glamorous job by any means, but it's a rewarding one, and I get excited when a draft class, when you start seeing guys like this that you didn't really have on your radar, just jump right up, and you go, oh, well, I'll add him to the mix, and hope that we keep seeing these kids as it goes along, because ideally you want 100 plus prospects that you like, and I already have 100 that have impressed me. So
wow.
It's I think this is going to be one of the deepest drafts that I've ever seen.
Very exciting. Very exciting. And you can get all the news and updates right here on the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at the Sick Pod NHL Draft. As well, you can't forget to go check out recruits.ca. You can get Habs coverage. You can get draft coverage. You can get Habs and draft coverage. The whole shebang. Great bang for your buck. Go check that out. And as always, Grant, thank you for joining me. I will see you all next week. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.